Hi, today we're going to deal with Photoshop Lesson 4. So again, if you go to the handout folder and go to J. Serretta and open up Photoshop Assignment 4 in the Grade 10 Photography folder, Section C Photoshop, you will notice that there is a bunch of files in there that are photos, which you're going to use to complete this assignment. Once again, there is a printable document that you can view in PDF format if you would like further instruction. Now, you are going to continue or start off by opening up Assignment 4, which I already have open down here. Now, today we're going to learn about editing photos so that we can correct things that have happened to them, such as we notice there is a tear here in the corner, there is a crease in this corner, and the photo over time has become substantially discolored. Now, the first thing to do when working with a photograph so that you don't mess it up completely and lose the original is always going to be to grab it and drag it down to the new layer icon to create a copy. Then lock the original. So we're only going to edit the copy. Now the first thing to do is going to be to adjust the color on this photograph. The way you do that in Photoshop is to go to Image, Adjustments, and we can work with either brightness, contrast, or color balance. So if I bring up color balance, we notice that this photo looks kind of red in appearance. Now the way this works is if I want to get rid of a color, I need to move a slider away from that color. If I move it towards red, it's going to become even more red. So if I move it away, it should start taking out that color from the photograph. Okay, they look a little yellow now, so maybe I will take away some of the yellow. And maybe I will add some green just to cause all of this green color to pop a little bit. When I'm happy, click OK. Now I'm going to make another copy of this so that I can adjust brightness contrast. More copies is always better than less copies. So you can go back to previous changes. Image, adjust, brightness contrast. Okay? Now, if you crank the brightness all the way up, it really washes out the colors. And if you bump it all the way down, it has the reverse effect where it darkens everything. So in this case, I want to brighten the photo up a little bit. It looks like a nice sunny day with nice shadows, so I want to increase the brightness. And I will knock down some of the contrast. Okay, and just to show you the extremes, that really causes the colors to blow out. And this really causes the colors to be a little bit more dull. Okay, so I can now look at my original copy and what I've modified it to. That is how you color correct photos. Now, one of the new tools we're going to learn today is this tool right here that looks like a stamp. You need to make sure you have the clone stamp selected, not the pattern stamp. Okay? And the way this works is it allows me to copy certain areas. So if I want to copy this area down here, because I can't replace this, it's gone. But I can trick the viewer into seeing the rest of it. If I click, we get this error saying, could not use the clone stamp because the area to clone has not been defined. It then tells me how to define the source. If I hold down Option and click. So notice if I hold Option, the brush turns into a target. So I can click on an area that I wish to copy, then let go, and move over, and you can see how it has a little bit of a copy of that area. Go over to the area I wish to create this copy, and start drawing that in. Now you'll notice here that it is run out of the area that I was cloning. So what I need to do is hold Option and just resample the area so that I can continue to clone that. Okay? Notice that there's that little cross that's showing up. That's the area that I'm actually copying from. You see that? So if I wanted to get rid of shadows, what I could do is define this source, and I could get rid of shadows. Okay? So that's something you can do as well using the clone tool. The goal here is to make it look more realistic, not less realistic. Now up here in the top corner, we also have a crease. And again, using the same method, we can hold Option, click to define an area, and then very gently and we might have to resample this a couple of times to get this proper. Hold Option, click. I want to be very careful around the tree here because notice it's starting to copy the tree as well. That is something we don't want to do. Okay? And you can adjust that until it looks realistic for you. Now, we fixed the photo. There's our original, there's our new photo. So, we've learned how to use the clone stamp tool. You already know how to use the text tool, which we are going to use for this assignment. I would like you to put on your picture some text to turn this into a postcard. So this is the Tuttles. Let me try that again. Smaller font. And just move that down. So here's the Tuttles reunion. Okay? And add some effects to that text, which we learned how to do in Photoshop Assignment 2. You can add an outer glow. You can bevel and emboss, etc. And maybe have a color overlay for this one. Okay? Once you've completed this part of the assignment, what I'd like you to do now is add 5 other characters from the folder that I provided you with in the handout. So, open up one of these photos. Now, if you just double-click the photo, it's going to open in preview. So none of your Photoshop tools are available. So what you need to do is select a photo and drag it to Photoshop so that it opens in Photoshop. Okay? Now, I'm going to add one of these characters to my photo. So the first step is using my selection tools to take a quick sampling of one of the characters. It's up to you. You don't have to use this photo if you don't want to. You can choose any of the photos I provided, but I do not want you using photos off of the internet. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick sampling. That's okay. Go to my Move tool, and I will move this guy into the picture. Now, of course, the easiest way to do this would be to put him in the front. I'll erase some of the stuff that's not needed here. So that's the quick way of doing it, is to put him in the front. But if you want to become a little bit more tricky, let's put him in the back. Right there. Now the most common mistake I get here is people just say, well, let me just readjust the layers. So they do this. And then obviously this layer is blocking that photo, so you can't see it. So what you need to do is fool the viewer into thinking he's in the background. And the easiest way to do that is up here on my layers panel, there's something called opacity. And as I turn this opacity down, I can start to see through him. And I can see the areas where these people should be in front of him. So I will take my eraser and I will very, very carefully erase the areas where he shouldn't be visible because people are standing in front of him. Like that. Okay. I can turn the opacity back up now, and he's in the background. And I can just get rid of this stuff that is not needed because it should be behind. Okay, maybe his head's a little too big. I should have transformed him before I did this. That might be something you will consider before you do this. So he's now in the background, but he doesn't look exactly like these people. So for each character you add, and I'll name this character 1, you are required to add 5. You can adjust, again, things like the brightness contrast. So I might turn the brightness up to make him look more like these people. Try turning the contrast down a bit. Okay, and I might also try to adjust the color balance again, because that's the purpose of this assignment. Okay, so play around with that until you get something that looks more or less realistic. To further add to this, you can also use, there's a couple of tools here called the Dodge and Burn tool. What the Dodge tool does is it allows you to lighten up certain areas. So you can see that there's shadows on everybody's face on the left-hand side. So the Dodge tool allows you to lighten things up. Notice how that's lightening it. I'll undo that. Command Z. Or I can burn or darken areas. And again, just want to use this a little bit at a time. Don't want to go too out of control or he'll start looking fake again. Okay, so just play around with those. So add 5 characters. When you're done, once again, save this as to your desktop as your last name, mine is Soretta, followed by an underscore, followed by assignment 4. Click Save, click OK, then put that in the hand-in folder.